Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.
Make her president this year, and then Commissioner Kayla could be vice president.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye, I guess.
You're stuck.
Did we do 1 and 2
I was gonna
together?
say,
Yeah,
yeah, it
did one
sounded
and
like
two,
we
done.
did 1 and 2 together.
Okay.
Adopt Robert Rules as parliamentary procedures to be followed at all board meetings during 2010.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye. At
Perf-
this point,
You wanna do
Yes,
the transit?
please. Yep.
Richard Ente?
Oh, now you're president,
the
you're gonna start
president.
getting bossy now. Here we go. Maybe that wasn't such a good idea.
good morning, Mr.
Thank
Dempsey.
you.
Good morning,
Good
Commissioner.
morning.
I'm here today
Thank
to
you.
present staff's recommendation on changes to Lorain County Transit routes. These changes were authorized by previous board resolution, and at this point, I'm just urging that you approve them. These changes were authorized by previous board resolution, and we need to talk about the specifics of what changes we would like to make, because they were presented to the public in a series of public meetings. So we've met our, excuse me, our requirement with the FTA. I would like to thank the commissioners for approving the additional general fund money, because without that money, transit would not be able to operate at all. So for that reason, we are here today to talk about reducing service to just 4 basic routes. And you have before you a copy of the 4 routes which we're combining into 2. Now that would be the 51, which would operate as a single line using 1 bus, and the 252, which would also operate as a single line using 1 bus. That's called interlining, and we did do that back in June for efficiencies. It is also a convenience for the customers because they don't have to get off the bus to transfer. The other thing you should know is that we will not be keeping any of the connectors, and we are ending all other routes that I just did not mention. The service would operate from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays only. No Saturday service, no Sunday service. The other major change is the paratransit service. The ADA dial-a-ride service would operate within the strict 1/3 of a mile on either side of a fixed route boundary. So those are the big changes. I'd also like to thank County Administrator for signing the agreement with ODOT, which allows us to keep the brokerage program operational. We have staff from Nowaka here who was very instrumental in helping to make that happen. So I have a graphic that I'd like to show you very briefly, and then we'll go quickly through the budget. Okay, before you, you see the combined 1 and 51, which is the blue route, and the 252, which is the red route. The maps that you have in front of you, the timetables, go into a little bit of detail on what these different routes already do serve. They're on the front. And the key thing to note is the service is basically going from hourly service to once every 2 hours. And again, we're still able to connect most of the places that people need to go. These 4 routes themselves carry about 46% of the transit system's ridership as it is today. So we are still doing a lot of good things for people with just these 2 routes.
So Rich, you're telling us we're gonna run the blue route and the red route? Can you put that back, please?
Yes, sir.
So it's going to be based starting at Meridian at 4th and Reed?
That's correct. For example, the Route 1 would start there at 6 a.m. in the morning. and go to the transfer point near Midway Mall at 6:30. At that point, it becomes a 51. Goes from the transfer point through its routes, past the community college and back to the transfer point. At 7:30, it becomes a 1 again and goes back up to the Meridian. I also should point out that there is a, a reroute on the number 1 because we have a number of social service agencies along North Ridge Avenue that should still be served. The 31 serves those right now, but without the 31, there would be no service there.
That's Ohio Department of Job and Family Services,
Correct.
Workforce Investment.
Correct. So you see the green line, that's the segment that would be discontinued on the map of the Route 1. Instead, that the blue line along North Ridge shows where those services would be. And it goes north on Broadway. The other thing, again, I want to point out is we will be operating 2 paratransit buses. Right now we operate 6 and occasionally a 7th bus. But again, it's a much larger geographic area. So the 2 that we will have now essentially be confined to just the Lorain and Elyria areas.
The 3/4 mile rule.
Yes,
Is it 3/4 mile?
on either side of a pitch
Right.
route, right?
You know, that's gonna be the, probably, another large significant change that we really haven't discussed. Because there's a lot of people that are gonna fall outside of the 3/4 mile,
Yes.
territory that are going to want paratransit. And that's something you're gonna have to wrestle with, because I believe you'll see a lot of, or hear a lot of calls from those folks. Especially, you know, you can just look at this map and see that 3/4 mile isn't gonna get you very far, from that fixed route. And if dollars become available later on, obviously, that's a self-imposed restriction. That's the minimum requirement by
Right.
FTA for paratransit. But you can decide to do more later if resources become available and throw a wider net on that paratransit, so we're not precluded from a larger distance off the fixed route. We're just required to have fixed route in order to get FTA dollars to supplement paratransit, correct?
Right, so we basically lose the east side of Lorain, the west side of Lorain, Metropolitan Housing, the Super Kmart run, the West 21st Street run all the way out to Oak Point Road, all of Amherst, the Cleveland Clinic run is now gone.
That's correct.
Okay, it's easier to say that than numbers that people would understand, which is all I'm trying to get across. We lose all of Amherst. The Route 2 run is gone now, we're off of Route 2.
Oh, the Route 2 still exists.
It looks like it's just a turnaround there. It doesn't look like it continues on the highway anywhere. We had a bus that used to run on I-90 Route 2, didn't we?
Oh, Route 2, yes. I thought you meant the Route 2, as in bus Route 2.
No, I'm sorry, Route 2 streets, I'm trying to name where the loss is.
That's correct.
We lose all of Sheffield Village, Sheffield Lake, Avon Lake, North Ridgeville, and everything south of Broad Street in Elyria?
Right.
Is that
Also,
basic?
the Vermillion service would also be discontinued.
Vermillion service to the west also.
It's the only way that we can present a balanced budget.
How, how close are we coming to Leary Memorial and CHP?
We're not even close to
Yeah,
CHP.
Not at all.
I didn't think we were close to CHP at all.
No.
We were before. Yeah, I don't have my big map anymore.
I've
Okay.
got it here, I'm sorry, Rich, you can have it back if you like, I can see it here, here.
I know, we haven't
Well, you don't need to show me, I was just doing discussion point, Rich. I wasn't sure exactly what our ridership was to either facility, but it was important to note that we used to go right to the door.
Well, we
Right.
got that, Jim, it's all here on the ridership by route, where we did which route used to run to CHP, Rich? Is that the
That-
3?
That would be it was a 31.
It was the 31, okay.
We still
No, I'm sorry,
haven't
the
gotten
40
to the
42.
point where we've
42.
contacted the cities,
Correct.
so we may get additional dollars that way. Places like Community Health Partners, Leary Memorial, maybe even the mall, Cleveland Clinic, can we contact those people to see if they would like to contribute towards our transit also? And all that money that we would get would therefore become match money, not like the stimulus money that we receive from
Correct.
FTA.
Obviously, we need to make the changes, and then we need to go talk to potentially developing some partnerships. Just as soon as we get done getting beat up pretty good by the FAA, we'll go work on the FTA issue and the local community. I will suggest this, you know, I do know the folks at the hospitals pretty well. Margins are very, very thin right now for everybody. And trying to supplement a transit system to come to their facilities is going to be hugely difficult for any of the people. But we should approach them and at least engage them in some dialogue. I've had some ad hoc dialogue before, and it wasn't encouraging. But we'll do a formal process.
If I could just say a couple of words about the importance of the brokerage program. Got a call from a gentleman who manages an apartment building over in North Ridgeville off of Center Ridge Road. And he said he's bringing in 12 students to go to the community college. And of course, the Route 11 would be discontinued, so he wouldn't have any way to get them there by transit. So I put him in touch with a van pool operator, VPSI, and they're trying to work a deal where he becomes the driver of that van and can get the students to school that way. But I took an additional call from a disabled veteran who also goes to the community college, just happens to live in North Ridgeville. And he was also concerned about the loss of his route there. And I said, well, you know, I just talked with a guy who's going to be getting a van for some college students in that area. Give him a call. So that's how the brokerage program can be expanded to more than what it is right now. It's be very important to keep that going.
Why don't you give for the public a very brief overview of what the brokerage program does for us, Rich?
The brokerage program right now provides discounted passes to people who are eligible from social services, certifications, ADA requirements. And again, it's basically a discounted pass to ride transit. And that's the essence of it right now.
And we receive
Well, it's in
approximately
the budget here. About $212,000. And in addition to that, we would be getting $140,000 from the state to help manage that program for 2 years. If you do approve these changes, we would urge that they be implemented as soon as possible. Ideally, that the 15th would be the last day of regular service as we know it today, and the 18th would be of January. The 18th would be the first day of the reduced service.
Next Monday.
That's correct.
You know, Commissioners, we're going through cash at an alarming rate that we don't really have. We did see the infusion of a few $100,000, but you see the bills that come through on a regular basis, and you know what it costs bi-weekly to operate the transit system, and I wish I can tell you that those dollars were able to be stretched a lot further, but they weren't. We're at critical mass with regard to these changes as to keep cash flow going and not put an additional burden on the general fund by year end. There's several other things that we need to do with regard to these changes that we can't do until the board structurally makes the route decisions, which is to talk to FTA about what's going to happen to our capital assets, rolling stock, facilities, et cetera. And there's a lot of things that need to be discussed with them with respect to mothballing and or what they're going to require us to do with our capital assets that are unclear yet. Even with our project over at the old train station, I don't have a clear line of sight to what they're going to do with that, but they were slightly pugnacious the last time we discussed things with them, and it's really hard for me to sit down and go, what if? Once you make definitives, I'm going to sit down and say, this is our current environment. Now, let's sort through these details and these issues so we can get some firm answers and some firm directions. So clearly, we have a lot more work to do, but we can't do it until this is done. So we'll be back here again, and I don't know what kind of news we're going to be back here with. Remember, we just built a garage. No local dollars were used for the maintenance facility, and that was to decrease the overhead for transit in the long run. Rather than using an outside facility, we're able to bring federal funds in and do a maintenance facility We've also brought in millions of dollars to have a permanent home and location for an intermodal hub. We were very much down that road. We were working with Greyhound, we were working with Transit, we were working with Amtrak. Those things have all been put onto the back burner, and now somebody else has the Greyhound charter, and it's unlikely anytime in the near future that we'll be able to regain that collaboration. So a lot of these projects need to be discussed with our local folks out of Chicago, and then we need to bring some decisions back to the board.
I'd also like to point out too, just to say a little bit more about First Transit, our contract provider. They've worked with us very closely on developing this proposal, and I do want to thank them, and particularly the drivers, for all the work that they've done to keep the service going.
How many people are going to be losing their jobs with this change?
That's a number I'm not exactly sure. 32 operators.
And originally, it was more like 40, wasn't it?
Well, if you had shut down all the fixed route, obviously there's a handful of drivers still required. The maintenance people, I think that some of them have shared throughout their resources for, they do a lot more work in Lorain County than just our transit, but the drivers are specifically centric to our operation, and they would have lost almost all the drivers had we gone with no fixed routes. I'm not sure. I think there's probably 5 or 6 drivers that are still kept for the fixed routes.
Maybe a total of 9.
9? That's better than I had hoped for.
Any other questions or comments, commissioners? I don't believe we have any other alternatives but to accept this proposal. So I will so move.
One more quick question. Should more money come in, how quickly can we add on another route? I mean, does it take a long time?
Refer back to General Manager from First Transit.
I think, we can do that as quickly as it's decided and we can get an employee back. It should not be long.
Not a long process. It's unfortunate.
Yep.
Well, the only out of this unfortunate situation, the only bright spot is we're still in the transit game. And let me point out, we've said it before, but we need to keep repeating this theme. We're not done. And staying engaged with the FTA, staying a viable transit operation keeps us eligible for things like the brokerage dollars, state ODOT dollars, stimulus dollars, FTA matching dollars. Had we completely closed down and padlocked the door, getting up and moving, should the environment change and resource become available, would be a multi-year process. It wouldn't be simply saying, First Transit, we just got an infusion of cash, can you put another line on pretty quick? If we were shut down, that wouldn't occur. I think it would take us years to get back into the transit game. So, while this is very discouraging and it's not something that anybody is looking forward to, we're not completely done, and hopefully when the environment changes somewhat and we see resources, we'll be able to rapidly re-engage and ramp up transit and get back to a lot more fixed routing.
I think the other part of what this has caused is there are a lot of people in the community who are very, very disappointed with what's happened, and they want to take action. So I don't think we're in by ourselves. The community's going to rally behind us and bring the system back. That's what I believe.
I hope so.
That's our hope. We need partners.
That's right.
I'll second Commissioner Blair's motion.
Any further discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Thank you, Richard, and thanks to John Hosek and Sarah Meyer from NOACA who are here this morning. We appreciate your help. And please keep looking for more money.
And First Transit, thank you for helping us through this.
Very much so. Madam Clerk?
Number 4, provide each Wednesday of each month at 9:30 as regular board meetings for year 2010.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
You're vice president. Okay.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr.
I
Kayla?
forgot.
For the audience, you'll note that's a change of meeting dates on Wednesday. From now on will be our regular meeting date.
Provide the second or fourth Tuesday of each month at 9:30 as regular board meeting days for 2010 for public hearings.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Authorize President, Vice President, or member to execute all agreements, contracts, and documents on behalf of the County Commissioners.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Appointed Commissioners 911 Review Board Chair for year 2010 and various members.
Will that commissioner be Commissioner Lori?
Sure, I'll take it.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Appoint the President to the Data Processing Board, Audit Review, Records Commission, Solid Waste, Board of Revisions, or alternate, Lorain County Children Families Council or designee, and Safety Committee or designee.
And Commissioner Kayla wants to serve on solid waste.
Correct, solid waste, and I'll take the Board of Revisions, Commissioner. I've already signed over to have someone represent me there.
Same person that's been representing
Yes.
us for quite some time.
Correct.
Good show.
Deanna
Also
Hill?
moved.
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under regular Job and Family Services bills?
So moved.
Second.
It's hard, isn't
Discussion?
It
it?
is hard to
Hard
give
giving
it.
up the power, isn't it?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Investments?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Appropriations?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Bills?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of county commissioners.
Mr. Cortez?
Thank you, Madam President. I do have a couple potential hires at Golden Acres that I wish to discuss with the board. I'm also have a labor contract at the Sheriff's Department that I would like to spend a little time going over with the board. Also, we have received an unfair labor practice from United Steelworkers of America that I need to talk with you about, and sundry legal issues with regard to our recent trip to Chicago to meet with the FAA. All of those are permissible subjects under the sunshine laws that I would request that we have an executive session today at the conclusion of our regular board meeting to have those discussions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve payment for victims of domestic violence fund to Lorain County Safe Harbor, Inc., DBA Genesis House for the amount of $30,647.05 as collected by Lorain County for the period July 1st, 2009 through December 31st, 2009. Collection and payment are pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Sections 2303.201 and 31113.34 through 39.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Authorize the salary adjustments for various personnel in municipal courts reflecting the county's 2/5 share effective January 1st, that should be 2010. For Oberlin, Sandra Cohart, clerk of courts, biweekly rate $913.63, and Randall Weinauer, bailiff, biweekly rate of $488.48.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Approve and waive the reading of the same for Lorain County Board of Commissioners meeting minutes for December 17th and 30th, 2009.
So moved.
Second.
She's all
What
over
year
the
is
place.
it?
I know. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Appoint Mark Weldon as Lorain County's apiary inspector for the year 2010. Total annual appropriation is $3,400 with mileage reimbursement of 50 cents per mile.
So, good. Sorry, I almost did it.
So moved.
Again, I know, again, but second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the engineer, instruct the clerk to advertise public announcement in Chronicle Telegram on January 22nd, 2010, request and statement of qualifications for firms interested in being considered for a contract to provide construction administration and inspection services for the widening of Colorado Avenue, State Route 611, from Root Road to Abbey Road, Sheffield Village. Statement of qualifications will be accepted until 4 p.m. on February 19, 2010.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Well, Happy New Year's, everybody. It's our first meeting of the year. 2009 proved to be a challenging year, and for those out there, believe it or not, 2010 is probably going to be even more challenging for us. And I think that those that believe that the cuts that we've been experiencing lately were not going to happen. I think that the board's been wrestling with those things and demonstrating that we don't have the ability to continue those areas that we had before been able to support. And we're not out of the woods yet because we're closely watching the revenue numbers coming in the beginning of this year with budgetary constraints. So hopefully we'll be able to develop some partnerships and get some greater understanding, and especially from our departments and agencies and officials here and right downtown Elyria, that further cuts may be necessary if we don't continue to see some kind of stoppage in the reduction of our revenue. So we need to be prepared for that, because I'm hearing a lot of people grousing about the cuts that have been made already. I don't think they understand that if things continue to deteriorate the way they are, the board's going to be right back looking at this stuff in 30 to 60 days again, and it's going to be proactive in making swift changes before we see any additional slide in our operating expenses. So we get ready for a very difficult year. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor.
Commissioners, I do have a number of pending litigation matters that I would like to give you updates in executive session.
Commissioners report.
We received a letter from Genesis House thanking us for the donations that we collected for them. And I just want to thank all those people that did donate, and also thank my assistant, Sherry Penna, for organizing it, collecting it, and getting it over to them. Tom's Country Place on Saturday, January 30th. Channel 8, Fox 8, Dick Goddard will be there for our Animal Protective League here in Lorain County. It's called Wags to Riches, and it's $80 per person, and $40 of that is tax deductible. So if you'd like to support our Animal Protective League here in Lorain County, it would be a nice event to attend. And just Happy New Year to everyone.
Just to tag on to what Mr. Cortez is on about, it's going to be a very difficult year as we watch the budget numbers come in. We hope to be final numbers, everything up and running by tomorrow afternoon per our budget director. Been spending some time in Columbus. I was there earlier in the week working on some solid waste issues and shooting a training video for the state of Ohio, but also meeting with Larry Long, our director, and his legal people. There's some other issues that have come up. I've talked to both commissioners, and we may have to discuss legally. I'll send over to the prosecutor's office. And then I'll be there again this Friday for the Board of Trustees meeting. So it's going to be a very busy year trying to keep services going, I guess.
Well, absolutely, Commissioner. And let's point out that those 36 unfortunate drivers that are now not going to have jobs are commissioner layoffs. We contract with that company to provide those transit services. Those 36 jobs go against the layoffs that we've already incurred.
Correct.
So our layoffs now are extremely substantial.
So we'll work forward. Good, Commissioner Blair. Congratulations being president.
Well, thank you.
And being alive.
Yeah.
That's not an in-house joke. For a number of years, I've been aware of the fact that there's another Betty Blair in Elyria, and over the weekend she passed away. And when my husband died, she contacted me and forwarded sympathy cards that she received in my name. So I never had the opportunity to meet her, but I had the occasion to talk to her. She was a lovely individual. My report, I have two items. From the National Resource Assistance Council, we are accepting applications in my office until this Wednesday, January 13th at 4 p.m. for funds. This is a 3-county District 9 area, and these eligible activities include the purchase of open space, the acquisition of easements, the constructions of facilities as defined in the Ohio Revised Code, the preservation or restoration of green space, wetlands, natural habitat, and riparian corridors. If you would like further information, contact Joyce Parks in my office, or you can go to their website. It's a good program, and we've had a lot of success with the applicants in the past. The other item is that we put a a cup of pens in the back there. You could pick up one if you wanted. It said, "Be idle free, turn off the key, NOAC air quality programs," and this is made of recycled tires. There was an extensive report on Friday about air quality trends in Northeast Ohio and how turning off your key after 5 minutes is very helpful to saving the ozone, etc. So that was my learning experience on Friday. That's my report. Oh, I was going to say that's my report, Madam Chair, but I'm Madam Chair.
You are
so-
Madam Chair.
Teresa?
Commissioners will meet next Wednesday at 9:30. We will also have IC at 11.
Did you say next Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we also have our continuation of our solid waste disposal hearing. Intent to designate.
Wednesday?
Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Public comment?
I see there are a lot of people in the audience. Those who would like to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and we will be happy to hear what you have to say to us. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. I just want to say my name is Rob Scheitauer. I'm an Elyria Township trustee, and I'm proud to say I've been a township trustee for the past 19 years. I'd like to first wish all the three commissioners and everybody here a very joyful and peaceful new year. If the commissioners would allow me, I have a little handout here I'd like to present to three commissioners. Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
I'm very aware you've got a very busy meeting schedule today, so I'll try to be brief and to the point. I was elected president of the Lorain County Township Association last November. I'd like to extend an invitation to all three commissioners to consider joining the Lorain County Association as an associate member and to attend our monthly meetings. I'm very aware of the county commissioners' very busy schedule this year. Our meetings are held on the third Thursday of every month at 7:30 p.m. I have included a schedule of the monthly locations for your convenience. As president of the LCTA, I assure you that every meeting will be conducted in a professional manner, and every person in attendance will be treated with the utmost respect. I would like to foster a better working relationship between the townships and the county. In these hard economic times, if we can all work together for one common goal, I do believe Lorain County will benefit in the end. I would also like to invite all three commissioners to attend the April 15th LCTA banquet. I would also, in April, I will also be sending the three commissioners an invitation just to remind them that they're invited to this banquet. Commissioner Blair served as president of this association in 1982 and 1983. I know Commissioner Blair has a very good idea what this association is capable of achieving. I'd like to thank the commissioners at this time for allowing me to speak here today, and I thank you again and have a good day.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you
Rob.
for coming, and thank you for the offer.
Okay.
And congratulations on that nice piece of property that the township just got from Billy Rowland for your park. A long time.
I need to leave here, and we need to get a grant application into Betty Blair's office by Wednesday. And I think
We'll wait for it.
we have a special meeting tonight to do a resolution, so I'm hoping we're going to get it together.
Good.
Thank you
Look
again.
forward to it. Thanks, Rob. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Frank Whitfield. My address is 1705 West Avenue. I'm here just as a concerned citizen. I grew up on the south side of Elyria. I'm a student at Lorain County Community College. I work for the Urban League. I also do some work with youth on the south side of Elyria. And I heard about the buses, and I heard a couple comments mentioned about once this takes him, which the decision has been made, that once the public can do something. He said something about once the public begins to get active, that maybe something can happen. I'm interested in hearing that. What can the public do in the meantime to try to stimulate this whole process of gaining more routes? And then the second question would be, I heard him mention something about in North Ridgeville they have somebody who's taking a bus and picking people up, and I want to know is that being supported by the county or the city, and how can we get more of that in Elyria, because there's a lot of vacant vans just when I drive around, I see vans that are sitting there for days that people, once the city knows, I guarantee they probably be willing to support that. So I'm just interested in hearing some of the responses of that, and once that is answered, I'll probably have more questions, because I have a lot of questions a lot of times. So
A couple of things here. Let me try that one, then if I can't answer your question, we'll get Rich to go a little further. First, the van service is not affiliated with Lorain County Transit. Rich did that as a referral, as a means to bring some parties together for the ability to coordinate some resources that they may both be able to share. So we don't have any affiliation with the van pool service, although we can make that information available on the website should people want to call. So that's number one. Number two, the engagement piece would be in your local communities, to talk to your council people, your elected officials in the community that you actually live in. There was a time when some of these communities provided some funding to transit, and with the only community left, I think, maybe Sheffield Lake. I think we've had discussions with both Oberlin and Avon Lake that have tried to provide some resources, but in Avon Lake we were unsuccessful because of the cost with regard to using RTA up there, which we were affiliated with LCT. So it needs to start within those communities to help provide resources to match money from the FTA. If the local communities do that, then we can certainly engage more fully with providing additional fixed route services.
okay, thank you for that. And also, so I seen on the map they had cut out the south side of Elyria. They said nowhere south of Broad Street, and I'm pretty sure that the south side of Elyria is probably one of your where you get the most occupants or most participants or most whatever you want to call that get on the bus, because that's the poorest of the city, the most underserved of the city. So I'm wondering, what do I tell them, you know?
Rich, do you want to talk about the methodology used to do the routing? Thank you.
And I just want to make a correction. We will be operating south of Broad Street.
Okay.
We'll be going down as far as Chestnut Ridge, which is where the 52 goes right now.
And that catches almost all the south side of Elyria, correct?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, again, the basic methodology was those routes that we that are operating existing that carry the most people right
Mhm.
now.
Those are the ones you'll be continuing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that kind of answers most of the questions I had. I thank you. So I'm still curious about the how the community can get together and use these vans and transport people. The county. Go ahead.
We're just as a conduit. You need to talk to Rich. I think he can give you some more information about how they might be able to access those vans.
Okay, but the county does not support that. That's one of my questions.
We
The
don't
county
pay
cannot
for it.
support
No,
that.
we don't have a direct input, but he can give you information
Okay.
on it. So
Thank
that
you.
You can help out, maybe.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
Chuck Becker, 2028 Holman Drive,
Good morning.
Lorain. I'm concerned over the bus service, and it's not because we're losing customers or people won't be able to ride. Mine is on the subject of finance. I've been retired 22 years from the postal department. I was making a wage roll of $17,000. Letter carriers are making $50,000 today, and I have to survive.